I'm joined now by my guest on the program who will help us, dissect these issues. I'm joined by an agribusiness expert in the person of Dr. Ajisefinni Ayodeji. Thank you, Doctor, for coming on the program today.
Thank you, and I welcome myself back to studio.
Good to have you join us on the program today. And you have heard what most Nigerians have had to say, regarding how we can, as a nation, boost a dry season farming. We are slowly, leaving the wet season, and moving towards the dry season. And there has been, a lot of conversation around food security and, not just farming during the wet season planting period, but also doing the same during the dry season. But let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on how we can, as a nation, boost our dry season farming just as well as we do, with the wet season?
Thank you very much. Just like as I listened to the feedback from our people, at least I can pick 3-4 points that are relevant to my point. One is for us to go back to what we call farm settlement, community farming in the farm settlement. Two, getting a irrigation system that is powered by solar. We are blessed with sun. Let's convert it to source of power. And three, getting government funding. In this area of government, what I will say is dry season farming is very expensive, truth be told. And despite that, it is the most profitable farming season for farmers that know what they are doing. Whatever we are eating during the rainy season is what they cultivated during the dry season. And what we'll be cultivating during the dry season is what they cultivated during the rainy season is what we'll be eating during the dry season. You can see that there is going to be a food crisis during the dry season because of flood. Now let's convert our challenges to prospects. Those areas that were affected by flood, by the grace of God, I believe they are now cleared off. These are the areas we can now go back and do the necessary farm land preparation program. Take the challenges out and use the challenges as an opportunity. Doing this, Nigeria have the capacity, I will continue to say that, to do it. We only need to remove the fear of unknown that has killed the interests of so many people in agribusiness. May God help us.
Well
Dry
said.
season has a greater prospect when compared to rainy season farming. I can say that anyway.
Well said, Dr. Ajisefinni Ayodeji. But at this point, we will go on a short break. When we return, we shall continue our conversation on boosting dry season farming. To stay. And you are still watching Business Daily, coming to you live on Trusttv. And just before the break, we started a conversation, and we are looking at how to boost dry season farming in Nigeria as the rainy season slowly but surely comes to an end, and the dry season comes into the picture. How can Nigerian farmers target or shift their focus away from wet season farming to dry season farming and have just about the same output as they usually would have during the wet season periods? But I still have my guest here with me. He is an agribusiness expert in the person of Dr. Ajisefinni Ayodeji. Thank you, Doctor, for coming on Business Daily today.
My pleasure, always.
It is a pleasure to have you on the program. You already started talking regarding the potentials that are inherent in dry season farming, but I'd like for you to emphasize more on that, especially the importance of that season.
Thank you.
As someone who is directly involved, you also are a farmer. Why is it important? Why are the crops that are planted in that period just as important as the wet season farming?
Thank you very much. Dry season farming is basically a season where agribusiness, the actual word agribusiness, takes place, because you need to provide for everything you'll be using on the farm. That's one. Two, this is a period that needs serious computation of what we call economic of production. Three, this is a period you need to know the kind of crops that needs to be planted. it's not every crop that can survive during the dry season. Basically, the categories of crops in the area of arable crops, these are basic things. We have basic crops that can move very well during the dry season farming. Moving from there, we need to come back to who are the buyers of what I want to buy. You see, we have been talking about farm produce being perished, especially the categories of vegetable. We should solve the problem by knowing our market before we go for cultivation. Knowing our market means, as an association, and I will repeat, this is the time for all farmers to belong to an agribusiness of farming group or cooperative. That is the only way we can get things right and have an impact on our economy, both as a state, national, and individual. How do I mean? Somebody said we should come and form a cooperative or cluster group.
Okay, you're referring to one of the social media
comments. Yes, that is very, very important, because having a common farm area belonging to 6, 7, or 10 people, cost of production will be reduced. How? Common facilities will be available. And that will reduce their cost. What are the common facilities? Irrigation facilities, security facilities, land preparation facilities. Buying their input on large scale, we give them trade discount from the supplier. And having all this in place, we support and reduce the cost of production. It will enhance the productivity, the output the farmers are expecting. Immediately the crops are getting ready, the farmers already have somebody that is taking it over from them. Not that somebody will buy and go and keep, waiting for when the price will go up, which is part of what is contributing to food insecurity in Nigeria.
Allow me to interject at this point. You made a very valid point. You said that the dry season period is where you see farmers do the actual agribusiness, because you are responsible for virtually everything that is required, to ensure that these crops do well, from, irrigation systems to, you talked about sprinkler irrigation, everything generally speaking. But I would like for you to, emphasize more on the irrigation techniques that are most cost efficient or cost effective for farmers, smallholder farmers here in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Looking at the word irrigation, hearing the name alone is a scared statement or scared word to farmers. Irrigation, where will I get it from? But to God be the glory, there are so many technology now that has made it easy for smallholder farmers in group to acquire and work. Before now, what do we do at a conventional farmer? Pumping machine, throw it in the dam. You pump water. What are the costs? Cost of petrol. A liter of petrol is now 1,200 or 1,000, depends on your location. And you need to pump maybe in the morning and evening. And you need nothing less than 5 liters per day. 5 liters is almost how much? Almost 7,500 per day times how many days? But no, God has blessed us in Nigeria with direct sunlight. We are coming to dry season. I experienced something. There was a time somebody sold a pumping machine, manually driven, as if I'm riding bicycle. It was taxful. I abandoned it. But today, I advise them that go back and tell the producers of this irrigation machine to use solar pumping that will not consume extra stress to farmers. And today, they now have a solar pumping machine. All what they need to do is to put their hose, maybe through each pipe, into the source of water and use the machine powered by solar to pump. Somebody now asked me, in case there is no sunlight, what is the way forward? That means that during the time where there is direct sunlight, pump into your reservoir. What thing we need to do before adopting any system of irrigation system is topography of the soil, of the land you want to use. That's why dry season has come. What are the procedures? What are the steps that farmers need to take? Number one thing is, what do I want to plant? Who am I planting this for? Who are the targeted customers? What quantity do they want? How many hectares of land will produce this? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm following.
Because why we are having shortage in food production is because we are not looking at the total population of consumer to determine the number of hectares to cultivate on. We are just putting our own as it comes.
And what is the after effect of, just farming and not
without computation? There will always be shortage of food because the population per day is increasing. Nigeria of over 200 million population, and we are cultivating less than 1 million land with highest output of 4 tons per hectare. Multiply 4 tons, 4,000 times 1 million compared to 200 million. The gap is still very, very far. And that is why somebody said government. This is where the government comes in. Dry season farming involves 2 major stakeholders: government and the farmers. What are the government's responsibility? It's not only from the federal. Federal will support state. State will support local government. Local government is to provide land that is irrigable. It's not every land that is irrigable. How do I mean? Where there is no source of water. It will be costly for you to now look and get industrial borehole. State government or local government can still do it. To every industrial borehole, it can cover and cater for at least 10 hectares of land. If that is done, we now move to the farmers. What are your knowledge, capacity? That's where extension service comes in. What are you planting? Do you need to do ridges or bed that can retain water for some period of time? That knowledge has to be there.
But let me ask, ridges and beds,
they are different things.
Are they required for certain or for different crops?
Exactly.
What reasons
for vegetable farming.
What reasons do you put into place before you decide on if it's ridges or beds?
There are some crops that need high volume of water. The beds is like 4 corners, rectangle with back deck. For example, rice. During the dry season, rice need more water at a moderate size, not oversized. And if you pump water into the beds, that they are beds in rectangular form with backage, it can retain that water for at least 3-4 hours before it gets absorbed. For vegetable, some people do bed, some people do ridges. But the best source is for you to do what I call flat land or ridges, because there are some vegetables, especially okra or pepper, they don't need too much of water, but they need water. For those that are planting maize, depends on your style. The topography of the land determine either you need to do the bed or ridges. That's another factor. A slopy land, the best to control is to have a ridge to control the soil. Otherwise, if water comes, the velocity of the water will push away the soil. Is that clear?
Very well understood.
These are technical things that needs to be transferred to the farmers. After moving that, now what is my economic of production? Most of us just go into this business without knowing what is my cost, what is my expected output, what will be the cost per kilo, what is my percentage of markup or profit before I determine how much I will sell to the market. That has to be calculated. And after that, you now go for source of funding. I need 1 million naira to cultivate 1 acre or 1 hectare of XYZ crop. I have 600,000. How can I source for 400,000? That is where government comes in again.
But I will want to, take you a little bit back again to, concerns around innovation and irrigation? Because whilst we went through the social media comments, that was a repeated concern.
Yes.
You have spoken about, solar and how we have sunlight in abundance. But again, there are concerns around costs.
Thank you.
Because not everybody or every
there is
farmer,
solution to every problem.
Okay, I would like to hear your thoughts regarding that, especially using innovation and these digital tools that have been introduced in the area of irrigation, but having access to finance, access to these tools. What would your thoughts be on that?
Thank you very much. Ingenuity to genuity become innovation. Is that so? Ingenuity to genuity. Somebody sit down. Look at it. It's expensive for me to be using petrol powered, and we have lights. Hey, let me try this, and it becomes what? Innovation. For who? For farmers. You remember I said cluster farming, common facilities. I know of a solar pump machine that somebody told me plus or minus 650 or 700,000. I look at it. How can individual farmer, a smallholder farmer, acquire this? I now look at it. Wait, 1 acre per farmer for vegetable, which is even too much. 1 acre is about 6 plots of vegetable farm. A single farmer cannot manage it all alone. But let's assume for economic of production, we allocate that. We now have 2.5 acres, which is 1 hectare. Meaning 3 people can contribute to own 1. Or 6 people can contribute to own 1. Or association can raise funds to buy and lease to their members. I don't know if I'm making any sense, because let's start from the simplest way. If that is done, government can now say, okay, maize farmers, rice farmers, tomato farmers in your association, how many are you in each local government? For example, we now say there are 100 cooperatives. Okay, each cooperative we are giving you 2 on hire purchase. Pay over a period of 1 year. What do you think will happen? There will be return on investment, if only if it is given to farmers on cluster basis. For government to do intervention, it should be on cluster by cluster.
And that brings us back to, the cluster farming technique that you have always emphasized on.
That is the only way any intervention from government can be impactful. Where is your farm? The monitoring team are coming. They get there, this is your farm. Who are the people? We label it. Thank God for GPRS. They can be in their office and monitoring the activities of the farmers. Any farmers that is a default, quickly we go back and remove it. And there must be a number attached to it so that you can't sell it to another person. Try to sell it, it will come back.
Well, with all you're saying, the role of the government still is very, very massive.
Yes, because of the capacity.
In ensuring the success of dry season farming. So I would like to hear from you now. So far, how effective have government policies been, in supporting dry season farming?
Well, we have been hearing from the TV, radio, and Ministry of Agric have been sensitizing us. But we pray and we are willing for them to please come to the grassroots. For them to have a policy that will encourage farm settlements. Let's do a policy that will encourage farm settlements in each local government. Somebody was saying about 10,000 hectares per local government. That's to tell you the landmarks in Nigeria. With a country with 774 local governments. If you are able to have only 5,000 hectares per local government and they are on cluster basis, we have a land we can use during the rainy season that flood will not be affected. We have those that we can use during the dry season that flood will not be affected. What do you think will happen? These are the locations where the government intervention will come. These are the places all the farm input support government wants to give to farmers can be recycled and utilized effectively and impactfully.
And what sort of collaboration should the private sector also, or is there even a role for the private sector to play in all of this?
Very, very important role. We that are in agribusiness are trying our best in forming people into commodity-based cooperative society and giving them regular extension services and capacity building and creating market network for them. One, technology transfer, knowledge transfer, funding windows, and market opportunity. These are the roles some of us that are in private sectors are doing to interested members of the public.
I'm very, interested in the market access you talked about.
Yeah.
That is what you are doing as a person in the agribusiness space.
Yes, market and capacity building.
But so far, what are the current, market trends for the crops that are produced in the dry season period?
Truth be told, crops produced during the dry season period has high potential of success. For farmers that know the A to Z of dry season farming make more profit during the dry season than rainy season.
Is that for farmers that know
the technology and the techniques? For example, our partners, our farmers from the northern zone do more of dry season farming than rainy season farming. And that's why you discover during the dry season, you cannot see most of our northerners doing any hard labor in other states. They all go back home to do their dry season farming. And what is it? Is it not because that is when they make more money? Why don't we in the southern part adapt that system?
You have said something which I find very important. You said for farmers that know the techniques.
Yes.
And I am very important. I am very interested in these techniques. How can farmers generally position themselves to enjoy the benefits of dry season farming?
Thank you. That is the purpose of capacity building. No knowledge is lost. We improve our knowledge day by day. Let's train the trainers. Let's encourage our youth. Let's transfer knowledge and techniques how they can get it done. I will take myself as a case study. I have a place in Kwara State for dry season farming. During the rainy season, I tried doing my vegetable and spinach. Water overflow all the farm. I abandoned it. And good enough, we have fish acting pond there. I told them, don't do anything until dry season comes. We will clear the land again and start all over again. All the money we invested during the rainy season, we will recoup it during the dry season. Through what? Lesser people will go into farming because they don't know the technology. And that is why we are encouraging our youth. That is the only area, especially in the vegetable sector. Let's encourage our youth into that cluster farming. Let's train them. That is the simplest way to bring youth into agribusiness and food security. And that is what we are doing.
Well explained. But when you say train them, are there specific areas that, specific skills that farmers should have, dry season farmers should have?
Farmers need to have what we call farm operation skill management. Under it, we have various modules. How do you do your land preparation during dry season? What is the volume? How do you apply irrigation during the dry season? Some people will say, give water in the morning, give water in the evening. Some people doesn't know that when there is sunrise, stop irrigation. You only irrigate before the sunrise and after the sun sets. People don't know.
I didn't know that.
That is it. Why must you be giving water when the temperature is high? It will trigger hot temperature to the soil. And there is volume of water. It's a matter of dehydration. Look at the volume of water that soil has absorbed during this rainy season. We will need lesser water for the plants during the dry season until maybe January, February. By then, the dehydration level will have come down. That is, the content of moisture in the soil will have come to a lower part. Therefore, you need to be monitoring it. There is timing to give morning food and evening food. They are living things. But we people will look at it that maybe it's ordinary plant. Let's give it to them. The way we take care of the human being, is the way we are expected to take care of our plants and animals. And these are the knowledge we need to transfer to farmers. And I'm appealing to the public that are listening. Let's encourage our youth. Who are the youth I'm looking at? This our secondary school. The percentage of secondary school graduates in Nigeria today is alarming. And these are the people we can bring together. Let's do a principle of learn, earn, and pay. It will lessen a lot of things. Criminality will be reduced, food security will be sustained and ensured, and they will be skilled. They won't be interested in japarism. They want to stay in Nigeria to solve Nigeria problem and add value to Nigeria and stop causing Nigeria.
Very, very well said. I have been speaking with an agribusiness expert, Dr. Ajisefinni Ayodeji, and he has spoken extensively on how to boost, dry season farming in Nigeria. We are, wrapping up the wet season and slowly but surely moving into the dry season. How can farmers, ensure that the dry season is just as productive as the wet season? Thank you very much for all the insights that you've shared with us on the program. Very, very, very interesting
It's my passionate area, food security.
I can see that. Thank you very, very much.
It's my pleasure.
And that is all that we will be, taking on today's edition of Business Daily. But keep the conversation going across all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, as well as Instagram. Keep the conversation going. Let us hear your thoughts on how we can, as a nation, boost dry season farming right here in Nigeria. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.